Okay, so now a separate video talking a little bit about palace routing and how I do it. First question, or the first thing I want to talk about is when should you do palaces? It's important to note the logic will never require you to do a palace unless you have Fairy Spell or Magic Key. You have to have one of those before it can be logically required that you do a palace, and I really recommend don't do palaces unless you have access to one of those. Sometimes if you get like 2 or 3 keys early, you can think, oh, I could reasonably do a palace. And if it's like P1, you can probably get away with it. But it's very easy to like spend a bunch of time digging all the way into a palace, only to find out, wow, I'm stuck. I can't do anything here. And I just wasted all my time. So yeah, wait until you get Fairy or Magic Key, and then go do palaces. If I have one of those, how quickly can I do palaces? Answer as soon as you feel comfortable. There's an inherent risk in doing palaces early because you don't have Glove or Fairy and you might get locked out of them, but those chances are lower. But there's also an inherent value in, well, if you think you have enough to start beating the game, just go beat the game. I can't say, this sort of personal feeling on when you feel comfortable doing palaces. Second thing, identifying palace. I'm just going to talk real quick. There are better research about identifying palaces. Look at the pillars, right? This is the 3 or 6 pillars. 2 and 5 have different pillars. The 2 and 5 pillars stab the statue. 2 has a jar, 5 doesn't, so you can tell that. And then 1 and 4 are very easy to tell. 4 has a Moa flying around, 1 doesn't. It's important to be able to recognize palaces for a couple reasons. Reason number 1, doing P5 and to a lesser extent P6 early, if you don't have a lot of levels and you're not really confident, can be rough because P5 tends to be long and then it has a difficult boss at the end. I would definitely say for newer runners, try to avoid doing P5 early and do some of the other palaces first instead. And obviously the second reason is P4 requires Reflect. Probably not a good idea to do P4 without Reflect, though I will say it is possible, like in Vanilla, that you have to go get the item from P4 in order to get Reflect. So sometimes it's a thing you gotta do, but I would save that until the last minute if possible. We'll do a little bit of exploration and I'll talk about how I do things. So, first thing when I come in, elevators are your best friend. The boss can be in a direction facing right, going up an elevator or going down an elevator, and all 3 of those are exactly equal chance. There's a thing that's determined up front independently of the palace generation, so always be exactly even odds for those directions. So what that means is, on an elevator, you can very quickly go up, go down, check a screen, check the next screen. Elevators are very safe and very fast ways to look at a lot of rooms that are likely to be boss rooms or palace rooms. So elevators are your friend, even if you don't like, if I'm just like passing through here and I see an elevator and I'm like, oh, I don't like elevators. I might still dip my head down, see what this room is, go back up, and then keep going. So the other thing that I'm doing as I'm going through here is going left is always a bit of a gamble. There are never boss rooms going left, but there are sometimes item rooms going left. And also, you might be required to go left to go down and go through a whole path. But unless I feel like behind on gambling, I'll usually avoid doing left. So what'll happen is I'll pass through this room, and I know there's a left exit. This room has a left exit, but not a right exit. This is a vanilla room that shows up a bunch. It's in P1. So I'll just remember, okay, I've got 1 left, right? I've got one left that I haven't done. And I'm not going to try and keep track of the whole map in my head because, again, my head is not good and my memory is bad. So what I'm keeping track of is I've got 1 left. And then I'm just doing the palace normally. So these windows mean this is P6. This is actually probably going to be a good example because it's going to take me a while to explore it all. But I still just know I've got one left. And, of course, this is a bad example because here's the boss. Does Thunder actually hurt him? Oh, I can't cast it because I'm not cheating in the appropriate way. Yeah, attack one Barba. That's definitely the thing I'm gonna do. Look how strong this attack one is. I am cheating for the purposes of demonstration. People may or may not have noticed that I'm also invincible. Alright, so I'm gonna find a different palace, because that one... I mean, I guess I could use this palace as an example, right? So let's pretend that I went down that... Because I'm still looking for the item here, right? So let's pretend that I went down that elevator and I killed the boss. Cool, but I still need the item because I got a hint that was good. All right, so I had remembered that I had one left. So now I have no lefts. So I'm gonna go left here, and I'm gonna find out what we've got available. So I'm still going left. And this whole path is not the only thing. Like, I'm like vaguely remembering things, mostly just for the purpose of telling whether I'm in a loop or not. But okay, here's another elevator, right? So I'm gonna do the things I normally do. Elevators are my friend. I'm gonna check it, but I've got one left here. It was available to me. Now I've got two lefts. And they're on the standard path. So I've got two lefts that I'm remembering from that first left path. And I'm just doing this so I can keep track of what options I have available to me, and I cannot forget. But part of it lets you do some other things eventually that are useful. Okay, so now I'm finding this. So this has a left and a right. And then this has a right as well. I think this is the item room. So that's going to be everything else in the palace, but I am going to explore the rest of it just for the sake of demonstration. Get a trophy. Yeah, I can't cast Thunder at... I guess I've got attack 8. Is this fire jump? It is fire jump. Okay. I can't cast Thunder even at Magic 8 in the setup. Alright, but assuming that wasn't a room that I cared about, I'd go this way. Part of the thing that makes counting these exits valuable is the game can only generate a certain maximum number of dead ends in reconstructed palaces. I don't remember. It's like 2 in normal palaces and 3 in GP, I think. But if I start to see 4, 5, 6 lefts I haven't checked, what that means is that some of these rights that are remaining must loop around to the left. So I've got 3 lefts right now. It could be that all 3 lefts are dead ends, but it probably means is that one of this right path is going to loop around to another one of those lefts. And it has, right? I remember this elevator before, and I check it and say, okay, so now that cuts a right and a left off. So I've got 2 lefts that I know about, which are the one in this room and the one back in the 4-way earlier. If people ever want to know, hey, there are a bunch of these rooms that look the same, how do I tell whether I can go left or not? The way I like to remember it is all of this, because there's a bunch of versions of this room. All the ones that have pillars have a left exit. So I know that I can go left here. Except this one is locked. Oh, is this the one that always trolls me? I don't remember. This one might not have a left. I don't know. Remember, I'm not actually good at this game. This is just how I do palaces. have just cheated the glove in my inventory, but... Hey. Alright, so this is the last left in the palace. We've already found both things, so... This is gonna dead end me, but... Could provide more examples of how to move around a palace. Also, one thing that I get a lot of questions about, or at least some questions about, is how much should I be fighting enemies? And the answer to that question largely depends on like how much experience you have, but I would say fight enemies. This is very much not what a lot of people do. I fight enemies that are easy and don't fight enemies that are hard. And that can mean you get an XP disadvantage sometime, or you have to do a little bit of farming, but who cares, right? Like, don't make the game hard on yourself. Eventually, you know, when you get to be a top player or something, you can make the game hard for yourself. But I, whenever possible, will endeavor to skip difficult enemies. Right, so we had one left that was available there. And I'm just trying to remember, right, where did I have forks that I didn't take? I don't really need to remember anything about these rooms. If I know I have one left, then worst case scenario, if I get like super lost and have to reset, you know, take an up A, go back to the beginning of the palace, I'll know I have one left in sort of the standard route that I take. So here's another left that I have. What are we dripping? Oh, I'm dripping Dew Knockers. Right, so by taking all of the rights, it also can help me to... Am I good? It can also help me to track stuff and keep things on mind easier, right? So here's this fairy again. We've seen that. That's a loop. And then we're gonna have one more left somewhere, and here's also gonna be a loop. But I think I've made a representation, right? Like, I would say stick to, you know, even if you decide I want to take all the lefts first, or I want to take all the elevators first, have in your head sort of a standard way that you're gonna do it, and then just try to remember how many forks you have left going each direction. It's like worst case scenario, be like, I'm totally lost. I forgot where I'm going. Right? I'll come back in and I'll say, okay, well, I knew the boss was the bottom of this first elevator. I'm gonna go and do my standard thing, which would be take a left here. And then I'm gonna keep going here until I hit a fork. And if I get to the fork, it'd be like, well, I knew I had no lefts that I haven't checked, but there were 2 up elevators I hadn't checked. And I would say, oh, I should definitely go up here. Or similarly, if I remembered my count of lefts that I hadn't taken, right? In this case, like, you know, I think my count is that I've got 1 left remaining. I might say, okay, here's this fork after I reset. Do I remember taking a left here? Yes, I remember I took a left there, so let's keep going. But I know I'm still looking for a left somewhere, and I might just take this path until I find another left. Be like, okay, here's a place I haven't checked. It maybe isn't the fastest way of doing things, and there are almost certainly better optimizations you could do, but this is just a thing that I do that's pretty simple that helps prevent the worst of scenarios from occurring as far as palace routing. So, did anyone have any questions on things I could talk about on palace routing? Otherwise, I might roll up a seed, and while we got people here, I might play an upstart seed for fun. Yeah, this one is left here, and then it was like one of the... See, I've already forgotten the path here. And I think it was like the second left from here. It wasn't the first one up this elevator, it was the next one. What's that yellow grid? So that's the thing I was, I did a, I'll post these videos up to my YouTube. I did a separate thing on overworld routing. But yeah, this is, and rather than repeat myself, I'll just post that up on YouTube and you can watch that one. I guess like I'll do an Upstart seed after this, and I can also talk about it as I'm going. Then this is Upstarts-ish, but I made myself an invincible cheater because I'm just demonstrating some stuff. Do I have dash? No, there's no dash in this. Yeah, it's okay. I'll start up a whole seed and I'll give like a practical demonstration of how I do this. But yeah, this is how to identify loops versus duplicate rooms. So what I'll usually do is if I see a room that's a duplicate of a room, I think is a duplicate of a room I've seen before, what I'll usually do is check. Yeah, this is where I hadn't been before. This is the left. What I'll usually do is I'll check like one more room and see if that also looks like a duplicate. And if that's the case, then yeah, how do you make yourself an invincible cheater? Like all things cheating in Z2R, we politely request that you don't cheat. We haven't had an issue with that many people cheating, but I just want to finish exploring out this palace. Connection from DM to Maze Island. I will. Yeah. Okay. So this room's a dead end. This is a good one to for people to know. So there's a bunch of versions of this room, right? That you'll see all the time because they're in vanilla. There is one of this room, and I don't like this a ton, but it predates me. So there is one version of this room that isn't a dead end, that continues on. The way to tell that version of this room is when you first come in, there will be two enemies standing on the stairs. Right, so I'll come back in here. This is not it. This has a flying guy and one guy on the top. So this version is a dead end. I don't know, there's like 4 or 5 versions of this room in vanilla, so you'll see this one a lot as far as dead ends go. But yeah, 2 enemies standing on the stairs means this is the version of the room that isn't a dead end. But as you can see, because there wasn't those enemies, we're just gonna find a dead end. Okay, so I'm gonna stop this, and I'm gonna start up a seed where I'm not cheating for real.